YouTube लाईव्ह सुरू झालेला आहे.
Yes.
आपण सुरू करूया.
Yes.
नमस्कार. Good evening everyone. I am Dr. Manik Fatak from Maharashtra VRUKSHA SAMVARDHINI. Honor to welcome you all on the exceptional Zoom lecture. Marking the inauguration of monthly lecture series 2026 on the topic New Trends in Biological Research. Today's first lecture on this topic is going to deliver by Dr. Aboli Kulkarni. She is going to talk on green auditing standards and carbon sequestration. All these lectures are available and can be viewed on the Mission Devrai YouTube channel. So please subscribe this channel. Other than so many lectures, more than 200 lectures are available on this channel regarding different subjects. In this talk, she is going to tell us about a journey for sustainability standards, eco-friendly operations in our daily life. So I will like to request Dr. Upadhyay Madam to introduce Dr. Aboli Madam, and we will start our today's lecture. So over to Upadhyay Madam, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manik. Just a request to you all. Please type your questions in chat box, if any, or any expressions you wish to communicate to today's speaker. It will be easy for us to communicate. Uh, uh, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Aboli. I know Aboli from a long time. Actually, our association is very long. Dr. Aboli Kulkarni is Director, Green Concept Ecoseps Pirate Limited, India. She has completed her graduation and masters from Abasaheb Garware College in the subject biodiversity. From her college days, she developed interest in nature and the interactions between various components in the nature. Then she joined Agharkar Research Institute for her dissertation under able guidance of Dr. Mandar Datar. At the institute, she developed various skills about the plant and ecological studies. Her dissertation was on the topic plant life between undulation and desiccation, a study on rock outcrops of northern western Ghats of India. During her internship, she was research fellow in Agharkar Research Institute and then after in ICER Pune. She studied and gained the experience in allied fields of the plant ecology as a digitization of herbarium, population ecology, plant surveys, and inventories, and so on. After her doctoral degree, she joined Max Planck Institute, Germany. She also acquired certified training in carbon uh, footprint mapping. She had about 20 publications to her credit. She also published her research in national and international conferences. She presented her research successfully. She is recipient of various awards, to name few: Prime Minister Trophy for sailing the expedition in 2006, National Level Prize for the biomodeling in 2008. For her research and her presentations, she get felicitated by Agharkar Research Institute and also by the Tata Motors. Presently, she is Director of Green Concept Ecoseps Private Limited. With this very brief and short introduction, I invite Dr. Aboli for her talk. Dr. Aboli, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I will share my screen and please let me know once you start seeing it.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
So the presentation mode is visible, right?
Right.
Yes.
Please make it a full screen.
Okay. I think I shared only the window. Just a second. No, sorry. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Upadhyay ma'am and Manik ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity. And I am Upadhyay ma'am's student, and I learned all the plant taxonomy, ecology concept under Upadhyay ma'am and Mandar sir. So it's really good to be back here again. Thank you so much. So today let's talk about green audit. Why is it done? How is it done? Why is it gaining importance day by day? And what about the carbon emissions and carbon sequestration mechanisms and how they are important when we are talking about green audit? So before moving on to the formal definition of green audit, let us start by talking about what is sustainability. So sustainability is meeting our day-to-day needs. So whatever resources we need for making our living without compromising the ability of the future generation. So we don't want to eat up the resources of the future generation. So sustainability applies on all levels, like the social levels, environmental levels, and of course the economic level. So nowadays, whenever we are talking about sustainability, we are always talking about environment and then social structures, and also the corporates and industries, and also how everything impacts the economic conditions of the current times. So now the question comes is why currently, so we always knew, like, if there is a particular industry who is producing cars, for example, like Bajaj, like Tata's, or other big industries who are making something, you are manufacturing something, so it means that they are emitting carbon and they have to be accountable for that. But nowadays, if you see, even smaller institutes, small like institutional campuses, colleges, smaller organizations, and of course industries, so everyone is kind of entitled to do environmental audits. So earlier it was kind of a voluntary uh, effort which was taken by industries as well as colleges and institutions. But nowadays there is a formal system. So there is an environmental management system which actually tells you how to do all these things, how to take care of the resources we are using, and how to be accountable for our own carbon footprint. And ultimately, the effort should be in the direction of how do we reduce our carbon footprint so that it ultimately translate into the carbon and climate change responsibility. So there are various impacts of the climate change we are seeing on various levels. So it ultimately translates into how are we using these resources and how are we reducing the carbon footprint of individual or of the organization. So it actually uh, involves what is the current scenario. So how are we using the resources currently? Then if we want to change into, for example, into renewable resources, then how do we do that? So how do we actually go from current scenario to something which is more eco-friendly, for example? So what are the implementation strategies? And if a particular industry is emitting more carbon than it is entitled to do, then what are the mitigation mechanisms? So we are going to talk in brief about all these things. So let us understand the definition of the green audit. So it is a systematic documentation of the evaluation of the environmental components of an organization or institute or college. Okay, so it aims to analyze the environmental practices within and outside the campus, so we can decide the boundary or the scope in which we want to do the environmental audit. So for example, because I did my PhD in Agarkar Research Institute, so I will give example of that. So if one has to do a green audit of Agarkar Research Institute, then it will involve everything, like right from whatever resources are consumed, right from the electricity to whatever lab consumables we are using in the institute, and how does it actually impact on the environment. This will be calculated, and then there will be mitigation mechanisms and the mechanisms to improve the current performances. So it involves, it's kind of an umbrella term which involves the current mechanisms to understand it, and also how do we mitigate certain practices, and how do we change certain practices to more eco-friendly ones. So the key focus of the green audit is on all these areas. Okay, so it is focused on the energy aspects, then the water conservation, green infrastructure, then how much is the green cover, how much is the vegetation as compared to the built structure which is there in the organization, then how is the waste management, what are the different transportation which are used by people who work there. So this includes various things. Okay, and how these practices, how these things are being done is identified, quantified, and then various recommendations are suggested based on that. And this is compliant with various environmental laws and policies which are in place currently. So let us create the context, like why do we need to do for this, go for this green auditing? So there are certain compliances like ISO 14001 and NAC compliance. So let us first talk about ISO 14001. So this basically focuses on environmental management system, as I was talking in the beginning. So earlier, whenever we are talking about sustainability practices or environmental awareness, this was out of generosity or out of something to do for the societies. But nowadays, if you see, there are many compliances which are associated, and so for example, big top 1,000 listed companies in the world, they have to declare how much carbon they are actually emitting. So this is moved from volunteering to to a compliance sort of thing. So you have to declare it, you have to do it. So there are certain rules associated with it, and there are also guidelines which are given, like how to do it and why to do it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what is this PDCA cycle is, and everything revolves around this PDCA cycle when we want to make a campus which is compliant to ISO 14001, for example. With respect to colleges and universities, there is a NAC committee which visits colleges and ranks them based on their academic, social, cultural impact and all other performances. So NAC has a particular criterion for a particular environment related policies. So there is a green campus, there is energy and environmental audits. So nowadays, even colleges are doing green audits, and it directly impacts their ranking. And everyone is, who is willing to have good performance in the NAC examinations, they will usually go for the green audits. So both for the industries as well as for the colleges and universities, green audit is gaining importance. So let's talk about this PD cycle. What is it? So this basically applies to green audits, whether it's done in industries or whether plan. Okay, so plan means industry or university has to have their own environmental policy. So they have to establish for them what are their environmental values and how are they going to act on it, and how do they see this campus, like, for example, after 20 years. So based on that, the environmental policy for each organization is first decided, and everything follows that policy. So next step, which is do, is actual implementation, or the actual operating the various mechanisms. So it actually decides, like, for example, whether we are going to fit LED lights in the college classrooms, or we are just going to go with the simple ones, or whether we want to install solar panels or not, or whether we are going to spend money for rainwater harvesting or not. So everything is going to depend upon what policy we decide, and based on that, all these actions will follow. Okay. Then next step is check where the actual green audit takes place. Okay. So this involves monitoring, measurement, the analysis of the data which is collected, and the performance, the evaluation of the institute or organization. So this green audit is done by certain people. So there are auditors, okay, which are, like, for example, our company is involved in doing carbon sequestration assessments and green audits. So we are CII certified auditors, and we are like entitled, or we are able to do these audits. And then there are various experts, like there is biodiversity experts, so somebody who can identify the biodiversity wealth of the organization. Then there is chemist, because this also involves the water audit. So how is the water, how is the consumption, and water quality assessment. And then there is, of course, data analyst, who is going to combine all this data, analyze it, and look for what is currently is there, and also give the recommendation for making the campus more green and more sustainably viable. So act is the step where based on the recommendations, there will be changes, and then the organization is ready for the next evaluation, where they perform better than the earlier one. So all the green audits work by this cycle. So let's talk about the NAC mandate. There is a particular criterion under NAC, which is criterion 7, which talks about institutional values and best practices. And there is specific key indicator 7 in the section 7.1.6, which requires institutions to conduct green audit, which involves the biodiversity assessment of the campus, then waste management and water usage practices. Then energy audit is basically involving energy consumption. So electrical consumption, how efficient they are, and whether they are using any renewables or not. So this involves that. So actually, when an auditor comes to the college, it actually, he or she actually want to see, like, what kind of tube light fitting is there in each of the classrooms, or whether there are solar panels or not, or how are you segregating your waste, whether there are certain blue, green, and these bins are there or not, and whether the segregation is happening properly or not, whether there is sewage treatment plant in the campus or not. If it is not there, then how are you, actually getting rid of your waste, and whether it's actually environmentally friendly practice or not. So these little things are actually seen and recorded. And an environmental audit is where we are actually going to see how much is the carbon emissions of the organization. So carbon emissions involve, I'm going to talk in detail about it. So there are various categories in that, and the carbon, how much carbon is emitted by each of the activity is calculated. So right from whether we are using electricity, or whether we are using computers in the lab, or certain lab chemicals, or what kind of machinery we are using, and what's their life cycle. So it involves everything, right? From transportation of the students or the employees to going to the electricity or the waste management, everything it involves. Then it also involves the air quality and noise pollution. So air pollution, noise pollution, how much it is that, and whether it is in the range which is recommended by the green audit committees. So basically, all the operational things are measured under green audit. Then let's talk about what are the objectives of the audit. So first is the resource management. So whenever a green audit is done, measures are suggested to improve, how can we improve the health of the environment around the campus, and what measures, what different practices which can be done, whether we need to increase the green cover, or if green cover is there, then how do we, maintain it like that. Then whether we are following the regulatory compliance, like for example, NAC for colleges or ISO 14001 for institutes. Then after every auditing, there is certain benchmark set. Okay, we are here right now, and then maybe next 5 years or 10 years, we want to reach to that place. And then based on that, the recommendations are suggested and the actions are taken. Then the most important thing for both for students as well as for the company employees is environmental awareness. So this is very, very important that we impart this awareness into our employees and our students, that this is not something you're doing out of compliance, but this is something you require for your healthy living and for future generations to come. So this setting this context is very important. And then also waste reduction. So we all know that the waste management is a big problem on various levels, whether it's plastic waste or whether it's bio waste, like so there are various challenges in that. So there are certain recommendations, certain suggestions as to how do we go about it, like this 3R: reduce, reuse, and recycle is one of them. And there are, of course, various others. So these are the main objectives of the audit, and this is how it is being conducted. So now I'm going to talk about these different types of audit and what is actually measured under each of them. And then let us talk about how all this data is combined and what is being done about it. So energy management audit involves the resource use consumption. So how are we consuming electricity and other sources of energy? So as I was saying it, that it actually assesses how are we using our lighting systems. So whether we are using LED lights or traditional lights. So we all know that LED lights are more energy efficient. So whether we are going for more energy efficient appliances or not. Then HVAC and appliance efficiency. So HVAC is basically the appliances which are used for heating or cooling the system. So like ACs and heaters. So heater does not apply for India, but ACs, yes. And how do they perform, and what kind of AC appliances we are using, and how energy efficient they are. So all these things are noted down. Then whether there is any renewable energy sources are there, whether we have installed solar panels on campus or not. If they are there, then how much energy are they actually producing, and how much electricity is used. So what's the proportion? And then based on that, recommendations are given. So if there are no solar panels, and if, for example, we are in western part of India where there is enough sunlight, then the measures are suggested, like you install solar panels on a rooftop, because there are many government schemes as well who are actually giving lots of incentives for use of renewable energy resources. So that measures are suggested. And also sensor-based smart lighting systems. These are being installed in lots of new campuses we see. They are more energy efficient, and also like, for example, a place where there are hundreds of employees who are working every day, then it's very, very difficult to manage all these things. So in that sense, the sensor based systems are very, very useful. So all these things come under energy audit system. Just give me a second. I'll just switch on the light. Yes. So after energy audit, now there is water audit. So similar to energy audit, where every tube light and every light was checked. For the water audit, they actually check every tap. You know how much. First of all, how much per capita usage of water is there. Then they will actually come and check all the water taps in the organization, how they are working. Then whether there is rainwater harvesting system is there or not. If it is there, then what's the efficiency, like how much water it is actually able to capture per square meter. So there are formulas to calculate that. Uh, then whether there is STP plant or not. So whatever wastewater is coming out, whether it's it's just from the toilets, or if there are labs, and then if there are certain harmful chemicals are used, then how are you actually recycling it, or what are you actually doing for that, and whether how are you basically releasing it. So all these things are noted down. And then yeah, if there are any leakages, then the first of all you detect it, then you ask the organization, like how frequently they repair it, and how aware they are about all these things, and then suggestions about installing water saving aerator. So like the sensor based lighting systems, there are also sensor based water taps are available, or maybe you must have seen this push water taps. So there are suggestions based on what actually will suit to that particular organization. So all these suggestions are given. So this is about water audit. Then next comes the waste management. Waste, or solid e-waste, whatever it is, whether
अबोली मॅडम ऐकू नाही येते नीट, आणि तुम्ही म्यूट झालाय.
I think a little
yeah, I had
wavelength is less, so I
internet
think Aboli, you
issue.
can switch off your
Yes.
video. So
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
you may switch off. Yeah, that's good.
yes, yes. Sorry, I think I have some internet issue, so I just log out of the system. Okay, so I was talking about waste management audit. Yeah, so this way, whether this waste segregation happens in the campus or not, then how are you treating your bio waste, like this biodegradable waste? So if there is canteen in the in the campus, then how are you, whatever waste is generated, how are you getting rid of it? Like whether there is composting plant, or whether you are sending it to municipality for composting. All these things are recorded. Then e-waste is again one of the challenging, I would say, topics in the waste management, because every day, I mean, batteries, wires, our laptops, computers, we are just throwing them away, and what to do with that is another question. So e-waste management is something which is which has to be taken care by the organization. So this is being monitored, like how are you disposing your e-waste. And right now there are also certain people who recycle some of their parts, and whether they are in touch with the organization, and whether this e-waste is recycled or not. And then comes the chemical waste. So if there is lab, then how are you managing the chemical waste? So all types of waste, how are you managing this? All this comes under waste management audit. Then is green cover and biodiversity, and I think it will interest most of us because this is our core area of work. So under this, there are certain focus areas. So first is campus flora. So cataloging what all species are present on the campus in the organization. So although I have written cataloging native species, but whenever we are recording, we actually record all the species which are present. So whether it's a tree, shrub, herb, or whether it was a plantation, and whether it's a naturally, I mean, since the college was built, whether a particular tree was always there. Then what are the plantation years? How many plants were planted every year? All these things are recorded. Then once you have this list, then if there are any endemic species, if there are any keystone species. So keystone species are something like ficus. So on it, there are various other elements which are dependent. So like on ficus species, there are various birds which comes there. So this translates into fauna supports. So what are the trees which are currently there? Then whether these trees are able to give habitat, to provide habitat to uh, other insects or birds or smaller animals or something like that. If it is not there, then there are recommendations like, we can create a butterfly garden where you plant certain species which will attract butterflies, or planting ficus trees or like that, so that, it creates a habitat for birds. So uh, it's like connected. So flora and fauna. And then if there are no trees, I mean, that's the rare case, but if there are very less trees, then the recommendations are given which trees to be planted depending upon where the organization is located. So in that particular area, what are the native species? So based on that, recommendations are given. And most important thing is to why we are doing this is, on one side, the we are talking about ecosystem functioning and having trees so that other animals, birds and butterflies, they can thrive on it. And on other side, which is for us, is if there are more trees, then definitely there is more amount of oxygen available. So in this context, we are going to talk about carbon sequestration capacity. And if there are more trees, that means they are able to absorb more carbon, and they are able to release more oxygen. So the campus is green, and it provides more oxygen, and at the same time, it is also able to store more and more carbon. So let's talk about carbon sequestration later on. So all these things, green cover and so energy audits, waste management, and now the green cover, all these things will come as different sections whenever we are talking about green audits. Then comes the pollution levels. So air quality monitoring and noise pollution. So measurement of CO2 levels, measurement of sulfur dioxide levels, like how they are different in the different areas of the institutions, like for example, gate, labs, canteen, how they are different. Then we could, I mean, students engage in such activities, and then there are certain campaigns like no vehicle days to reduce the carbon emissions of the college. So all these things are there in air quality monitoring. Then of course there is noise pollution, so identifying the silent zones like around libraries, and if you are in Pune, for example, and if you can think about Garware College or Ferguson College, which are right in the middle of the city, then what are the noise pollution levels and how they are different, like whether when we are going inside, more inside the campus, they are less. And whatever buildings are next to the, road, it's more. So, and also there are generators in the campuses, to help with the energy, continued supply of energy. So what are the noise pollution levels of these gensets and all? So everything is measured. And under air and noise pollution levels, it is actually compared with the standards, the standard air quality, how it should be, how it is right now, and what we can do to improve it if it is in the worst cases. Similarly for the noise pollution, like how much decibel it is, and what are the standards, and then how do we improve it. So all these things are going to be measured whenever we are doing green auditing. So let's talk about the audit life cycle. Okay, so there are various phases in which the green auditing takes place. So there's a pre-auditing phase, there is on-site measurement, which is the actual audit, and then there is post-auditing phase and reporting. Okay, so let's talk about them one by one. So for pre-auditing phase, first of all, a committee is formed. So there is internal committee and there is external committee. So there is a team of the auditor who is going to come and audit. Then there will be internal team. Like if I've just given example of colleges so that it becomes easy to visualize. So for colleges, there will be team of faculty and student volunteers who are going to help the external volunteers with everything. Then the most important thing is defining the scope. So we need to define the physical boundaries wherein we want to do the audit. So what's the campus area, then where all we are going to focus, what is outside, what is inside. So all these things has to be done. So site scoping is important thing. And then the next important thing is preparation of the checklist. So there are going to be hundreds of questions in all these things. So whether it's energy audit or water audit or waste management or green cover or whatever it is. So it is important that a questionnaire is prepared internally, and then there are also standard questionnaires. So if, like, for example, whenever we do the audits of this organization, we have a standard questionnaire where we are going to ask certain questions, and then based on the answers, we are going to analyze the data. So for each department, there will be different questions. Like, for example, mathematics department won't be producing any lab chemicals. So for them, the questionnaire is different. But on the other hand, for molecular biology department or for chemistry department, the questionnaire is going to be different. And also their operations are basically different. So their results, their data, whatever data we are collecting, that is also going to be different. So all these things we need to prepare before doing the audit actually. So everything comes in the first phase. The second phase is actually on-site fieldwork, where there will be actual physical inspection of the things, like, for example, lights and water taps and pipes. Then electricity meter readings will be taken. Then electricity bills are gathered, then with the help of the internal team, which is there in the college, the campus we actually commute the campus, and then, actually walk around the campus to see, how things are actually, whether there are bins present in the or not, or whether they are present in the required quantity or not, whether there is waste segregation happening or not. And of course, there is soil and water sample collection is done to analyze the quality of the soil, and like for various nutrients, and of course for water, for various chemical parameters like BOD, COD, and what is the pH, conductivity, TDS, like these things, water quality parameters. So all these things are taken into consideration for on-site fieldwork. So there's a component of the questionnaire, then there is a component of on-site fieldwork, and all this data is ultimately combined to analyze like how much is the energy consumption, how is the water usage, how much is the waste generation. Then for in this particular graph, there is also transport. So how students or faculties are using transport, how much is the percentage of public transport, how much vehicles are actually parked in the college. All these things are recorded. Okay. And then based on this, there are various recommendations given. So like, for example, for energy, then if there are no LED lights present in the campus, then phase-wise shift to 100% LED lighting. Then if there are no solar panels, then recommendation for installation of solar panel is given. And then ultimately this, once we install solar panels, so I think you all know about it, we can also integrate into the main grid of the MSCB, so which is the electricity board. And why it is important is how much ever you are producing, you can use it. And then whatever is remaining, only that much energy or that much electricity can be used from the electricity board. So energy wise, these kind of recommendations are given. Then for the water, if there is no rainwater harvesting system, then for making rainwater harvesting system, what needs to be done, those kind of recommendations are given. If it is already there, then how do we increase their capacity and their performance? And as I was talking about the sensor-based taps, which are more efficient, and wherever there is less water wastage, such kind of recommendations are given. For waste management, again, there can be drives such as plastic-free campuses, wherein we encourage students not to use plastic. Then canteens can have, eco-friendly cutleries and less and less use of plastic and paper cups, for example. Like, for example, I remember when I was doing my postdoc, everyone had their own cup for their own coffee, and for the coffee, and there was coffee machine kept on each floor, and that mug used to be always there, so that we reduce on, because if even if one person drinks one cup of coffee, if there are 500 people, then that institute is going to generate 500 plastic cups every day. So this particular drive was implemented there, that we don't use plastic or paper cups. So these are small changes. And what we have seen is these changes are very much welcoming for people, and people usually don't oppose these things, and they're usually are ready to implement these things. Then if there is lots of bio waste which is being generated, then we recommend that you have your own composting plant, which is very easy to make in the campus. So one corner can be dedicated for that, and that whatever compost manure is prepared through that, we can use it for the trees which are growing there, which will ultimately help growing the trees, and then ultimately help increase their green cover, and of course the carbon which is stored in the trees. And then the next is greenery. So there are recommendations, like for doing plantations in the certain area. If there is certain area in the campus, whether it's industry or whether it's institute which is open and which is not used, then certain type of plants can be trees can be grown there. Or even if it is next to the building, what kind of trees one can plant. All these recommendations are given. So we just to give you example, we have worked with such industries where a large part of their campus was actually dedicated to trees. So it was not used for any construction or any manufacturing activities, but the land still belonged to them. And the industries are so environmentally aware and inclined that they don't want to cut the trees to make some more buildings or something like that. But they are so aware that okay, we are manufacturing steel, for example, then we have to keep a certain area for plantation wherein we are mitigating whatever we are producing. So this kind of environment awareness is very important, and it can be imparted through such activities. So this is just an example of typical audit findings. Okay, so based on like energy savings, water savings, waste reduction. So what is the current potential, and how it can reach it up to the whatever target they have set, or the auditor can give them recommendations like, if you install solar panels, for example, then your energy savings are increased by so many percentage. So this kind of recommendations are given, and this is how it looks like. This is just example, and this is from I took this particular graph from the web, where they were actually comparing green audit findings from different Indian campuses. So these are different colleges and universities, and what is actually the potential for energy saving and water, like rainwater harvesting and waste reduction. Now, okay, so till now we were talking about whether it's energy, or whether it's water, or whether it's air pollution, or this thing. So we are talking about just the campus based activities. Now if we go one level more advanced, then we are talking about carbon footprinting. So how much footprint are we leaving on the planet? So it involves everything of our lifestyle, everything. So where, like in what kind of house we are living, what kind of food we are eating, how are we commuting, to various places, like whether we are using public transport or private cars, and whether the cars are petrol driven or electric car or something. So it involves everything. Then whether we are using electricity. Now whenever we are talking about a college or an organization or an industry, there are these various activities which are going on. So if I'm talking about individually myself, then right from I get up in the morning up to night I go to bed, whatever activities I'm doing, in a way I'm producing carbon. Okay, so not exactly producing carbon, but whatever things I'm using or whatever activities I'm doing has certain impact on the carbon levels which are there in the atmosphere. Okay. Now, when we are talking about industries, then right from the electricity which we are using to whatever product we are manufacturing, then how many employees come to the office, how do they come, like whether they come on their own vehicle, or whether there is company's bus which takes them from certain places and then gets them. Then whatever product we are manufacturing, like for example car, then once a certain car goes out from the campus of that particular company, how it is used, how different parts of the car, what is their life cycle. So all these things are going to impact on the environment. They are going to produce certain level of carbon, and whenever we are talking about carbon footprints or carbon emission mappings, we have to take into consideration all these things. So for carbon emissions mapping, there are certain guidelines. Okay, so how the emissions are calculated, and there are different categories of activities which can be put in different scopes. Okay, so there is scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Okay, so these are very well defined categories used by everyone worldwide. Okay, so let us understand what are these scopes. So scope 1 is the direct emissions. Okay, so if there is any college and if there are 4 gensets, for example, then that will be the direct emissions for that particular college. Now, if there is a cement factory, then under direct emissions, along with gensets or along with electricity or whatever it is, there will be actual pollution. So actual during the cement production, whatever chemicals are released, so that will actually add to the direct emissions. So depending upon what organization, whether it's college, whether it's industry, these direct emissions will change. So for IT company, like for example, the direct emissions will be just the gensets or maybe the use of computers. But for cement factory or for steel factory, the direct emissions are more. So industry to industry, these direct emissions levels are going to be different. Now, under scope, these are indirect emissions. So indirect emissions means basically purchase electricity. So you are using certain kilowatts of electricity for the college or for the industry. But that electricity is being produced somewhere, like maybe it's coal, based on coal or based on water or based on wind turbines or whatever it is. But you are accountable for the pollution which is generated during production of that particular electricity, which you are using it here. So even if the electricity is produced, 200 kilometers away from the location of your campus, but still if you are using 1000 kilowatts of the energy, that means you are responsible for the emissions which are generated due to production of that much electricity. So let us again take the example of IT company. So IT company will have lot of indirect emissions because their direct emissions are going to be very less, only the gensets probably. But their indirect emissions, because everything runs on computer, all their work is on computer. So whatever lighting and whatever electricity is used for computers is going to be calculated under the indirect emissions. Okay. And then scope 3 involves everything, right? From procurement of the raw materials for an industry up to how your employees are commuting, how they are coming and going like to the company. Then whatever your product is, then once it is out, it doesn't mean that your responsibility is over until the life cycle of of that particular product is over. How much carbon it is actually emitting, so you are responsible for that. So whenever carbon emission mappings is done, so it is done under scope 1, 2, and 3. Now, just to give you the current scenario, currently, mostly scope 1 and scope 2 are done. Okay. And for carbon emission mapping, it is mandatory for top 1000 listed companies to declare their emissions. Okay. So this is where we currently stand. Okay. Now, as these climate policies are changing every day. In every COP there is some other discussion about how are we going to mitigate the climate change and what are the different measures. So based on that, there are various recommendations, various compliances which percolate down. So now lot of European companies, there is something called as CBAM. Okay, so carbon border adjustment mechanism. So under that, what are they actually demanding is even if the company is in Germany, for example, but if it is getting its raw material from India, for example, then the Indian partner has to declare the carbon emissions. Okay, how much carbon they are emitting, and that German company is going to be responsible for that. So it's not like you are doing it yourself and you are mitigating things for yourself. So it's not like that. Everything is connected. Am I audible? Sorry, my internet connection is again unstable.
Yes. Everything
Yes,
is
you're
going
audible.
smooth.
Okay, great. So okay, great. Thank you so much. So nowadays this carbon emissions mapping is gaining importance, and of course it's also getting more and more complicated because every little thing in that chain is actually responsible, and you have to give calculation of every little thing. So for big industry, it is a lot of work and lot of things are actually involved. To the environment point of view, this is really good because it is taking into consideration everything. So it's not like only the big industries are going to declare their carbon emissions, but even the smaller industries are in a way are getting involved in all these things. And soon It will also percolate to MSMEs, which is not there currently, but in few years, it will also percolate to MSMEs, and everyone will be responsible, to make use of renewable energies and more environmental friendly practices, and declare their carbon emissions. If they are more than what is, recommended, then do the offset mechanisms, and more greener practices. So I would say this is going towards greener future is what it currently feels like. So till now, we were talking about, how to calculate all these things. What are the different recommendations? How do we calculate carbon emissions mapping? Okay, this is just institutional footprint trend. So once you identify how much or record how much emissions you have, then you can set various targets like using renewable energy resources, and then how is it actually reducing your carbon footprint. Now, there are various ways in which carbon footprint can be reduced. Okay, sorry, I forgot to tell you about this. Why this is important is, okay, we want to do it for NAC, we want to do it for ISO, because we want to get ISO 14001 certificate. Along with that, it is also aligned with sustainability goals. Okay, so there are this standard SDG, and the changes which are being done under the green audit recommendations are also aligned with various goals. Like, for example, SDG 6 recommends for clean water and sanitation through campus water audit. So whenever we are doing water audits and doing the improvements to, to reduce the water consumption, there we are actually aligning with the SDG 6. So there are various goals. So I'm just giving these numbers of each. Then for energy, affordable and clean energy via solar installations. So if you are going for renewable energy resources, then SDG 7, you're aligning with SDG 7 goal. And then sustainable cities. So this is actually at a larger level, and communities starting at campus levels. So this is more like, by achieving more eco-friendly way of living by doing all these things like water management, waste management, energy management, having more green campus and reducing your carbon footprint. And this is actually translating into sustainable cities. So yes, so for the SDG goals also, all these things are important. Okay. Now, why one should participate, like how it is useful for campuses, why it is useful for students. Okay, so it it gives you a hands-on experience of how we are responsible for whatever is whatever resource use we are doing, and how much environmental damage it is actually doing, or whether our practices are really good, and whether we are aligning with the sustainability goals or not. Then it gives you a kind of awareness. They are limited in nature, and of course you want to leave something for the future generations. This is what sustainability actually means. And then this also can translate into future careers for students. So if somebody is really interested, then there are so if you want to be auditor, then there are certifications one has to complete, like for example ISO 14001 auditor. There are various ISO certifications for doing various kinds of auditing. So this can also be actually set career paths of the students. So what whenever we are talking to industry experts, what we have observed is industries are getting more and more aware of the sustainability issues, and there are departments of sustainability in the corporates, and there are sustainability managers, sustainability engineers who are responsible for taking care of organizations carbon footprint. So it actually opens a new avenue of career for the students if we are doing the green audit in the colleges. And of course, the college is going to get benefited. This is just example of two green audits, one from India, Tezpur University, and one from UK. In one of the green audits in the Tezpur University, 89% of the emissions were actually from the electricity. So then the recommendations given by the green auditor to go for solar plant installation, and then the solar plants were installed, and then it actually reduced their carbon emissions because of the use of renewable energies. Similarly, in one of the universities, Ball State University in UK, they replaced their coal boilers with geothermal systems, again reducing their carbon footprint. So there are various success stories which are coming through this, that people have gone for more eco-friendly practices and usage of renewable energies. Now, let's talk about, okay, so till now we were talking about what are the different sources of carbon emissions, pollutions, and what are the different recommendations which can be given. So carbon sequestration is, one of the mitigations. So green audit is going to measure what it is currently and recommend what can be done. Okay. And carbon sequestration is kind of offset mechanism or mitigation. So if you have more carbon, if you're producing more carbon, how can you reduce it? Okay. So there are various ways by which we can reduce it. So of course, using more energy efficient machinery, then using using renewable energy resources. These are few mechanisms to reduce the carbon footprint. And then carbon sequestration is another mechanism of the mitigation or of the offset. So there are two types of sequestration. So when I say sequestration, it's basically storage of carbon dioxide or carbon equivalents somewhere. Okay, it could be biological, so it could be in the trees, it could be in the soil, it could be in the ocean, or there is also geologic sequestration. So this is more like an artificial way of sequestration, where actually you can inject steam of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide underground. So on both levels, if you see currently, there is a lot of research which is going on, and lot of different mechanisms are actually coming. Like if we see, many Scandinavian countries are researching a lot about the geologic sequestration and how this can be used to reduce of carbon in the air, and of course sequestration. So I'm going to talk about this natural carbon sequestration and how it is done. So there is phytosequestration, which is carbon stored plants, keeps everywhere. So whatever plant part are there, that the carbon is stored. Okay. So as the tree grows more and more, there is more and more carbon is sequestered. So how it is actually done is, we all know that for photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is actually taken in and oxygen is released. So as the tree is growing, and as there is, for example, trunk is growing, the branches are growing. So this is nothing but carbon in various chemicals on the campus. Then more and more carbon is actually sequestered. Okay. Then there is soil organic carbon. So lot of carbon which is taken by the trees is actually released in the soil, and it is stored in the soil also. So again, in the various chemical forms, it is stored, sometimes organic, sometimes inorganic. And soil organic carbon is very beneficial, like as the organic carbon percentage increases, it is beneficial for growth of. So it is said carbon should be there in soil, to call it a soil, to call it a biological entity so that it supports the organisms which are present in it. So whether it's plants or or other animals, able to support or not will depend upon how much is the organic content or not. So it is not only useful for the mitigation mechanism, but also for the ecosystem functioning. Okay. And currently, if you see a lot of agricultural soil, so for soils, again, there are different readings, but for agricultural soils in India, it is so increasing the soil organic matter is also useful for getting more agricultural produce, and also for of course for carbon, reducing the carbon footprint mechanisms. And okay, so about the terrestrial carbon sequestration, whether it's soil or trees, but more than the terrestrial pathways, so ocean is the most important source or sink of the carbon. So the seaweeds or the algae which are growing in the ocean, in the sea, are actually responsible for capturing most of the CO2. So we always feel that it's the forest. I don't want to undermine the forest, but it's ocean which are actually sequestering the most carbon. But there are also sides to it. So oceans can turn into, I don't want to go into that science right now, but carbon sequestration by trees and soils is most effective whenever we are talking about mitigating. And why it is important is, till now we were talking about environmental awareness, and how we help mitigating the climate change, by doing more eco-friendly practices and using renewable energy, by sequestering carbon, planting more trees. Yes, this is there. But the most important thing, in a commercial point of view, definitely, is carbon trading and carbon market. Okay, so I will just quickly explain how the carbon trading and carbon market actually works. So many of you have already you already know about it, that India is launching its own carbon market. Okay, so what is carbon market is actually, it's already in place and it's in working conditions for European countries and for the US. Is for example, if there is industry A which is producing 200 tons of carbon per year, and if there is industry B which is producing 100 tons of carbon per year. Now, industry A, because it's producing 200 tons of carbon, and the compliance say that you can only produce 100 tons. Okay, if you are producing more than 100 tons, you have to account for the in more 100 tons which you are producing. So how do you account for that? You either have some mitigation mechanisms, like what we are discussing till now. So you plant more trees on your campuses, or you have artificial ways in which you reduce the carbon footprint. Or another way is this carbon credit system. How does it work? Is industry B is producing 100 tons of carbon, and it has 100 acres of land on which there are trees, there is plantation, or there is forest. Okay, it is owned by this particular industry. Then industry B can sell their credits to industry A. It just works like stocks. It is like a stock market. Okay, so it is already in place for European and US industries, and now it is coming to India as well. And there are, of course, good about it, but yes, definitely now people are interested into trees which are on the ground, and these tree will probably pay if they are on the ground for for many years. So there is financial incentive now to protect trees. So that is the reason carbon sequestration, carbon emissions, all these things are gaining importance. Okay, so yeah, that's all from my side. And just to tell you about a little bit about our startup is the Green Concept is actively involved in doing carbon sequestration assessment, green auditing, restoration practices, and biodiversity surveys and recommendations and consultation for all ecological problems and questions. We are also into ecological trainings wherein we teach students of ecology, botany, zoology, different ecological principles and data analysis and statistics. Okay, so that's it from my side, and I'm open to taking questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aboli. Please stop sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those who want to ask question, they can write it in the chat box.
In the chat box,
Meanwhile,
there is already one question is there.
yeah, we will give some time. Meanwhile,
Any
I will
specific
do the vote of thanks
encash?
first. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
very much, Dr. Aboli, for informative and educational talk. Very excellent presentation. I am also thankful to all participants who are attending today's webinar. Those who are missed this lecture, they can listen on the Mission Devrai YouTube channel. Very apt lecture on environmental awareness. Thank you very much. छान झालं lecture.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
There is
Thank you.
there are one or two in chat
yes,
box. There are a few questions. Aboli, can you open
Yes.
your chat box and answer it directly?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Dhanashri, ma'am, any specific system to encash through existing old trees? The answer is yes. But if you have any particular questions, then maybe we can talk after the session, because it depends upon, I mean, there are certain things in detail which I need to know before saying definite yes. But the short answer to this question is yes. And existing old trees are important because they are going to act as a stock of the carbon. Okay, so if they're 100 years old or 200 years old tree, then whatever carbon is stored in those trees are going to be important for assessing for carbon sequestration mechanisms. Yes. And just to tell you that in this year probably we are going to have our own carbon market, and Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BEE, are going to give us the recommendations and rules and regulations of how this carbon trading mechanism will work. And then based on that, all this system will come into action. Okay. So, ma'am, we can talk in detail later on. If you wish, you can take my number from Upadhyay ma'am and you can directly call me. Yes, I'm going to second question. Do you also suggest structural changes to allow for passive lighting, ventilation in institutions, campuses, cooling towers, natural sewage management? Yes, yes. Water harvesting, percolation, infiltration, storm. Yes, yes. So in the green audit recommendations, all the recommendations are given. Whatever you have mentioned, all these recommendations are given. So these recommendations are case to case, they're different case to case. So depending upon the current conditions of the campuses, all these recommendations are given. Next question. Are there instruments to assess carbon emissions? So, ma'am, there are certain formulas. Okay, so this is a very standardized mechanism how to assess the carbon emissions, and there are the scope 1, 2, and 3. Based on that, there are various activities which are measured, and if we are doing it for the college or if we are doing it for the industry, we'll have different numbers of, for example, how much electricity is consumed or how many people come to the office every day, like that. So based on that, there are certain calculation factors and we can do the calculation. So it is a very standardized procedure. Does not require any particular instrument for it. For becoming auditor, as I'm qualified in botany procedure for, okay. So, okay, there are various audits. Okay, so there is green audit, there is ISO 14001 audit, then there is ISO 17020 audit. There are various ISO standards for it. And if you want to become an auditor, there are various courses. Like, for example, I did this course of CII, so Confederation of Indian Industries, for carbon footprint mapping. So you can go for this course. This course runs almost every month, I guess. And then there is exam and then there is certification. And like this, there are certifications for various auditors. So you can acquire these certificates and then you can apply either in the industry as an auditor, or if you're already working somewhere, you can actually do the audit. To save old trees, we have to popularize the system of encashment. We are hearing about, yes, ma'am. Yes, Dhanashri ma'am, you are right. Yes, so definitely old trees are going to be important. It's not just new plantations, but of course, old trees are going to get you more more carbon sequestration than the new trees. So yes, ma'am, definitely. What are the methods do you use to determine sequestered carbon? Okay, so there are specific methods. So you mean soil organic carbon? So SOCs, I am thinking soil organic carbon. So soil samples are collected and the organic content of the soil is determined. And using the soil organic content, we actually determine what's the, how much is the potential of the sequestration of that particular area. So there are standard formulas which you can use for determining it. So basically you need soil sample for that. How we can motivate general public to reduce reusable in marriage and other family functions. Yeah, you're right. So right now, what we can do is right now, I mean, it's very difficult because it's convenient. People will go for the, the use and throw materials which is used in functions and all these things. But right now there are many options for it which are biodegradable. So there are these areca nut plates and all these things are available. So we can definitely move to a more eco-friendly options than just using plastic or paper cups. I know it is not always possible, but we can always try, and small changes will ultimately give big effect. So we can start small, definitely. So using these areca nut plates and all these things, we can definitely start with. And I can see one hand, RS. Please go ahead.
Yes,
Please
thank you
unmute.
so much. Compliments to you, Dr. Kulkarni, for your wonderful and informative talk. More than questions, I have a few concerns about, carbon sequestration and the environment. Point number one is, this carbon dioxide sequestration, pumping carbon dioxide into the geological formations is wrought with, certain uncertainties. For how long will the carbon dioxide stay inside the formation? What if it leaks? What will it do to the groundwater and to the soil?
Absolutely.
Yes.
These concerns are there, and thank you for bringing this up.
No, it's okay.
This is definitely there. And
second point is,
go ahead.
there are certain methods that are being developed and a lot of attention and money is being pumped into these new methodologies, how to capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and make it, sort of neutral or whatever you want to say. But the thing is, if we consider certain data, we are pumping in 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year to the atmosphere. 40 gigatons. And all the natural methods of carbon dioxide removal, forests and vegetation that is removing carbon dioxide, it is accounting for only 5% of this. Right? So 40 gigatons versus 2 gigatons every year by forest, vegetation, everything. So we are way off, compared to what we're pumping in and what is being absorbed from the atmosphere. Now let's take the new methods that are being developed. They account for only 0.1%. So all this is going to be a big mess after 10, 20, 30 years. And the only solution that I find is limited use of resources, all types of resources, water, energy, and material resources. And as you rightly pointed out, the moment we use a certain material, it has already polluted the environment. We have already spent energy on its production, which people don't realize. And I feel that there's a great need to educate our public, not necessarily inside institutions who are so-called educated, but may not be environmentally literate. So we have got to educate all people, including politicians, policymakers, everybody, as to what exactly has to be done. First is awareness. Unless we bring that about, we are not going to end up anywhere meaningfully. Maybe the last point is we always say, in fact, you also mentioned reduce, reuse, recycle resources. But I would like to add another R right in the beginning, refuse. Oftentimes, we use resources which are not necessary, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So this also has to be ingrained in the psyche of people. Don't simply accept something that you don't use. So first refuse. If you can't refuse, then accept, reduce, reuse, recycle. If we do this, we can reduce waste, waste generation. Bangalore city spends about 1.25 to 1.5 crore rupees every single day to manage its waste. So these are some of the points that I had in my mind.
Really?
And lastly, can you throw some light on how farmers can gain carbon credit through their agricultural activities? This is of direct interest to me because I work in an NGO called Grama, of which there is another gentleman, the chief functionary, Mr. D.M. Sridhar.
So definitely farmers have a bright future, I would say, because once the carbon credit system is launched in India, it is definitely going to benefit farmers as well. So if you have like horticultural trees or timber trees in your farmland, then definitely it is going to earn you. The agricultural products are always there. Yes, definitely they are there. But if you have your trees on ground like for 15 years, then definitely it is going to gain the carbon credits as well. Exact guidelines are still not yet clear, but there is definitely good chance that farmers will have carbon credits. We work with one company, and they are trying to do the similar idea which you are talking about. So yes, there are efforts in that direction, definitely. And it all depends on what guidelines Indian market is going to give some definition. So something to definitely consider.
So farmers still have to wait for that, right?
Yes, but I would say that if they start planting now, then definitely by the time the guidelines come,
it may
they
be
will
better if
already
you
have
switch off your
plantations.
camera.
Because after the guidelines, if you start, then all this time good time to start.
I think,
Sorry, is my voice breaking?
and now it's okay, but I think too much emphasis has been laid on planting trees.
Yes,
Sorry,
Dr.
naturally.
Aboli, your
What
bandwidth
I
is
was
little
saying
low.
is,
So I
it's
request
definitely good time to start because by
RS
the